G'day, Heath here from pickinglessons.com. This is the third installment of Bluegrass Licks here on the guitar, and in this lesson we're in the key of G, but we're focusing more on movable positions and moving up the neck and down the neck. And in that example at the beginning of this video, you would have seen that the solo, the break there, started down the neck, and we sort of traveled along as the chords were changing. We're moving up into different positions, and we're using triads kind of as a bass, surrounded by scale notes, and in particular the major blues scale works really well in this style of music, and we'll have a look at that. But for example, these triads in G, we've got three of them. And we're going to learn all these as part of this lesson, and we have this scale that surrounds them as well. Yeah, so they're our notes we're kind of using while we're focusing on particular positions. In a moment, we're going to take a look at a couple of licks and the first triad and scale position here in this video. But if you head to pickinglessons.com, we're going to break down, we've got 10 examples of licks. So basically just analyzing our positions and what we can do around them with our scales and triad positions. And of course, we've got this example solo that we can pull apart and really analyze. That's really the goal in this lesson, is for us to analyze what we're doing so you understand what it is we've got, that you can reapply it in your own playing. So pickinglessons.com, you can grab this chart that we're working through as well. Now, firstly, we want to get a bit of a handle on these positions we're working with. So this first one that we're looking at uses this triad here. So the triad G, we've got the B, the D, and the G there. So we've got this shape, second and first finger, just to play that chord. Now, we're not playing it as a chord. We just want to recognize it as the chord position, the arpeggio notes that are inside the chord, yeah? So an arpeggio is just those chordal notes played individually. And that becomes a real focus in our licks. They really want to be the highlighted notes that we play. So there's our first triad position. So that's a visual reference for us. Now around that we have this major blues scale. So the major blues scale is essentially the major pentatonic with the added flat 3. So in this position here, we're actually going to start back on the open string and move into our triad. So there we have it, we've got that open G there, that's our root note. The second note, the flat 3, the 3. That's inside our chord, yeah? Moving on to the 5, to the 6, there's our root note, there's the 2, and there's the flat 3 again. Now that's surrounding our triad. So what we want to really emphasize when we were learning these, or when we're looking at these licks, is we're going to be emphasizing the notes from the chord. So we want to be highlighting those notes as much as we can, sort of to really strengthen what we're playing. So we've got this triad position, so that's number one. We've got the scale position. That's number 2. Let's have a look at a couple of licks around those. So try to visualize the chord and try to have an idea of this scale that we're using. But here's this first lick. So what we've done, if we break that down, we'll learn that lick in a moment, but what we're doing there is we're sliding from the flat 3 into the 3. So there's our chord. Back into the chord there. And then resolving up the chord. So our dominant notes are part of that triad. Yeah, all the time thinking that we're over the G chord. And so we're using this position away from the open strings. Yeah, this is what this lesson's all about. And using the scale box that we've just learnt. So make sure you've got the chord position. Make sure you've got the scale position. But let's just have a quick look at this lick as well. So we're going to slide into fret 4. Use your second finger. Then the third finger up to the E. Back to that B. And then to the D. So sliding, minor third, major third. E to the D, bouncing off that B, and then we're going to run up through the scale, finishing on the root note, the G there, so that's the G on top. Now, the great thing about these licks is because it's all closed, so what we've done there's been no open string, so we could change it very easily to a different position for a different chord, different key. If I wanted to play in A, if an A chord came in this chord progression, the 2 chord, I could mimic that lick in this position. Yeah, so there's the A position, there's the A on top, that's our root note, that's a reference that we want to be aware of. So there's our A. Our scale position around that. Yeah, same scale we just played, we just moved that box essentially, and the lick. So A chord. Yeah, I can move to any position. Here's the C. And the C blues scale, C major blues. Yeah. We're focusing on these top 3 strings really around these triads, back to G there. So, we could reposition some of those notes, for example, that G in this position here, but we're kind of piecing together positions mainly on those top 3 strings. So there's our first one. So our second lick here, we're actually going to change into the D position. So what we're going to do is take our G chord and reposition it for D. So the first thing is the G on the root note there on string 1. We're going to take that up so it's on string 1 there at fret 10. So that means that this triad here, this D, is now, this position is the D. Our scale around that, so moving our box attached to the chord, so let's just run that nice and slow. So that's our position. So 7th fret is the D. That's another root note position. There's our 2, flat 3 and 3. There's our triad. There's that flat 3 again. Yeah. So sit down and have a bit of a look through that yourself. What you need to do is memorize those positions and understand why it's a D. So one more time. That's the D triad. That's the D root note within the triad. Same shape as we use for G, but up a 10th fret for our D root note. That means our scale, there's our D root there, same position attached to that triad as it was for the G. Yeah, the open G there, so our D. There's our 3, flat 3, 2 and 1. Into our scale position. And then we have our scale shape. And so here's the lick for this position. Okay, so we're starting in the triad position. We're going to hammer on from the flat 3 into the 3. Yeah, moving straight up to the root note. Down through the scale, miss the flat 3, and just straight down the major pentatonic essentially. Alright, so there's our hammer on, minor third, major third, root note, down through the scale tones, the 6, the 5, the 3, the 2, and the 1. So there's our triad, root note on top, D. Here's our scale, the D. And here's our lick. And so you can see, hopefully, that what we've done there with our D position is essentially what we've done with our G position. Different lick, but same concept, same scale shape, same triad shape. So that's really important. That's really important to kind of get your fingers around and have a good visual of what we're using. So the G and the G scale there and the D and its scale around surrounding that triad. That's the real key to getting this happening, yeah? It's the real key to improvising in general, even in the open position. We still want to visualize our chords somewhat and know where those arpeggio notes are within our scales that we're using. So we've got a whole lot more licks to learn. So pickinlessons.com, if you jump over there in the members section, we're going to break down the remainder of these lick examples. So we have 8 more. We'll really pull them apart. We've got 2 more triad positions and a scale position that actually kind of spans the 2 that works really well. So we'll learn that. So the technical side of things, getting these triad positions, understanding where they are for the particular chords we're playing, surrounding those with these scale notes we're using, and in this case we're really using the major blues scale. We do bring in the flat 7 as well, which is more than appropriate, another blue note. And then just pulling some examples together in those positions. So we've got 8 more licks to learn, but we've got this example solo that we'll break down that you can sort of analyze as well. So pickinlessons.com, you can grab the chart if you just want to work through that as well. So pickinlessons.com, jump over and I'll see you there.